Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm here with
Dark Arm Duelist.
And today you're going to be showing us something that hasn't been on my channel in a very long time, so I'm excited to show you guys this. But tell them what you're going to be profiling.
I'm going to be profiling my Cyber Dragons. One of my favorite decks to actually play. I've been playing at locals a lot recently. I'm actually profiling my going second Cyber Dragon list, which has been doing extremely well for me.
Alright, well do you have any shout outs before we jump into it?
Absolutely. Shout outs to Bud's Place and of course shout out to you, Silver. I really appreciate you profiling my deck on your channel. It's always awesome. And shout out to my channel, Dark Arm Duelist.
Which will be in the description, so be sure to check that out. But without saying all too much, let's go ahead and jump on into the main deck.
Alright. So, for the main deck, every Cyber Dragon deck, you're going to be playing 3 copies of Cyber Dragon. This card is super simple. You special summon it to your side of the field if your opponent controls a monster and you don't. Really awesome card, super nostalgic. One of my favorite cards. Cool quick story. The first pack of Cybernetic Revolution I ever opened, I opened a first edition super rare one of these cards, so I've loved this card ever since when I was like 8. Yeah. So, the first pack I ever opened of Cybernetic Revolution, I actually pulled one of these, which is why I love this deck so much.
That's awesome.
We then play 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. All of your main deck monsters that are Cyber Dragons actually count as Cyber Dragon while on the field or in the graveyard, which is super cool for cards like Machine Duplication, because when you machine dupe them out to your side of the field, you actually special summon out 2 of the original Cyber Dragon instead of summoning out 2 copies of Core to your side of the field, which is just super cool.
Yeah.
But this card is great because it's your best normal summon in the deck. So when you normal summon it, it actually searches a Cyber spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect. And when it's in the graveyard, you can actually banish this card from your graveyard to special summon a Cyber Dragon from your deck if you don't control a monster, which is just super cool. We then play 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Hertz. You don't use this card all that often on the field. You're usually using this card to discard to the graveyard to be able to grab Cyber Dragon directly from the deck. It does have the ability, if this card is special summoned to your side of the field, then it becomes a level 5, which is a pretty good effect, but it's really just here for the name. We then play 2 copies of Nashor. This is actually one of my favorite cards in the deck. You discard a monster from your hand, and then you special summon this card out to your side of the field from your hand, which is a super good effect. And if it's normal or special summon, you can target a machine monster with an attack or defense of 2100, and you can actually special summon it to your side of the field from your graveyard. So a really cool play is to discard Cyber Dragon off this card's effect, and since it paid cost to be able to discard, you actually special summon this card out and then bring the Cyber Dragon out to the field because it was normal summon after the card was in the grave, which is really good. I'm then on a single copy of Veer. I've been playtesting this a little bit. I like it because it does kind of Kage Tokage it out to your side of the field, which is a pretty good effect because it has a great ability that if a Cyber Dragon's normal or special summon, you just instantly throw this card out on your side of the field, which is a great effect. We then play, I'm on a Cyber Dark engine in the deck, so I'm playing a single copy of Cyber Dark Chimera. This is your Power Bond searcher, and when you actually discard a spell or trap to search Power Bond from your deck to your hand, the awesome thing about this card is it basically turns Power Bond into an overload fusion, so you can actually use materials from the graveyard to make it super easy to make really powerful cards, like your copies of your Cyber Dragon, or Twin Cyber Dragon, your Chimera Tech, or even Cyber End Dragon. Spoiler for you guys, yes, I played the Cyber End Dragon, because making an 8,000 attack point piercing monster is hilarious, and it's basically free with this card.
Yeah.
We then play 2 copies of Galaxy Soldier. Galaxy Soldier says send a light monster from your hand to the graveyard, and then once you do, you can special summon it out to your side of the field and then search another copy of this card. It's not once per turn to special summon it to the field, but the search is a once per turn.
Yeah.
I'm then playing 3 copies of the Star Destroying Kaiju. I really think this is just about mandatory in this deck now because there's so many decks running around right now that just make a big monster and they put them on the field like Pearly and stuff like that. This is searchable in the deck, but you always want to open it in the going second build because you can actually contact it away into a copy of Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, which is really good because it's a machine monster. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is just really good. It stops your opponent from touching the deck, and it's a great hand trap in this deck. So that's it for the monsters. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, I don't like back row, so we're playing the 1 Feather Duster in the main. I feel like this is really good right now because there's a lot of decks that are just playing a lot of back row. So this card is just really nice in the deck. You can side it out if you're playing against a deck that's not doing a lot of back row, but I feel like 1 is totally fine in the main.
Oh, for sure, especially for going second. I agree.
Oh, absolutely. We're then playing a single copy of Repair Plant. This card is great in the deck because it actually searches your Kaiju, because it lets you add a light machine monster from your deck to your hand. It also lets you target a machine monster in your graveyard and add that target to your hand, which is a great effect, or actually lets you shovel a target into the deck, which is a pretty good effect to be able to use on this card. I really like this card because you can actually activate both effects of this card if you have 3 or more Cyber Dragons in your graveyard, so you can get both effects. I really like this card.
Not to mention it can search your Galaxy Soldier.
Yeah, it can search Galaxy Soldier too. But I just like this card because this card is basically like the 4th Kaiju in the deck, because I always want to get to that Kaiju. And then play a single copy of Rev System. Rev System is basically like a Monster Reborn for the deck. It's searchable off of Core, which is why you just play a single copy of it, so it's pretty good. We then play a single copy of Cyberdark Realm. Realm is great because it searches your copy of Chimera, and then it also gives you an additional normal summon of a Cyberdark monster, which is great to be able to get that additional normal summon off your copy of Chimera, so you actually get 2 monsters on the field that you can then search Power Bond, and then link away the core and the copy of Chimera into a copy of your Seeger, which is really good to be able to do, because then you can just activate your copy of Power Bond and banish your cards from the graveyard. Since all the monsters count as Cyber Dragon while on the field and in the graveyard, you can actually just use them in the grave, so it doesn't really matter if your copy of Core is on the field anymore or not.
Yeah.
We then play a single copy of Load Fusion. When you do banish your cards from the graveyard, you can actually use this card to put them back and then fusion summon into a monster. I haven't been using this card all that often. It hasn't been coming up that much in the duels that I've been playing, but it's still a really good option to play in this deck. We then play 2 copies of Power Bond. I'm on 2 copies. You guys know why. If you draw into a single copy of Power Bond, it turns your entire Cyberdark core off, or your Cyberdark Chimera off, which is really bad. So you always want to be able to search this card, and it does deck thin. If you already have one in hand, you can normal summon out the copy of Chimera and then discard one of these to search the other one if you want to. Deck thins if you want to do that, but it doesn't come up all that often because you can actually use this card more than once per turn. So you can just make 2 big machines if you want to, which is really nice.
Also, those secret rares are just very beautiful.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We then play 3 copies of Cyber Emergency. This is the Rhoda for the deck, essentially. It's really good as a 3 of in the deck. You got to play 3 of this. We then play 3 copies of Raigeki. Raigeki is also really good as a 3 on the deck because it just basically destroys your opponent's field. They must answer this card or they're going to lose their field. It's super good. If you draw multiple copies of it, you can activate multiple of it a turn. If your opponent negates the first one, you drop the second one, and you go, hey, lightning does strike twice. We then play 3 copies of Machine Dupe. Machine Dupe is really good because you can target any of your main deck Cyber Dragon monsters, and it will special summon out 2 Cyber Dragons from your deck, which is just absolutely insane.
Also, it's not a once per turn.
It is not a once per turn. We then play 3 copies of Clockwork Knight. Clockwork Knight is really insane. It turns every monster on the field into machine. Your monsters go up by 500. Your opponent's monsters go down by 500, which is insane. This card is so good in the deck.
I have lost to this deck because of that card.
This card mixed with this is just insane because you can actually contact your opponent's entire field away with this, because you put the Clockwork Knight on the field and then you just like eat them with this thing. And then this card gains 1,000 for every material that you use. So as long as you can put a Cyber Dragon on field and you have Clockwork Knight, you just eat your opponent's entire field. So this is a board wipe. So this card is a board wipe if you can put a Cyber Dragon monster on the field, because they all count as Cyber Dragon.
Yep.
Which is just really, really good. So that's it for the main. We don't play any traps. I don't play Overflow in here because this is a going second build. If you're playing going first, you can. Another option if you're going to go first with this build is you can actually play Regulus in the deck, because this card has a graveyard effect that you can actually banish it from the grave to be able to add an Earth Machine from deck to hand, which is pretty good, but you have to discard a card, which again, not that bad, but getting Regulus in this deck in a going second build, not that needed, but this card is really good in this deck. I would play this going first or going second, but that is an option for you guys. If you want to play going first build, you can play Regulus because this can search it.
All right.
So that's it for the main. Let's get into the extra. So for the extra, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Cyber Dragon Infinity. You got to play both artworks if you're going to play this deck. It just looks too good. This card is a walking negate. It can also eat a thing once per turn that's in attack position, which is really good. You play 2 copies of Nova. A lot of people forget about this effect that you can detach a material from this and actually grab a Cyber Dragon out of grave and put it back on the field. So this card is really good. You can also go to 42 by banishing a Cyber Dragon, which is really, really good. We then play the 1 Zeus. Yeah, we brought the ultimate rare for this. Definitely. But this card is good because it board wipes. You guys know. We play
and it's a light machine.
Absolutely, it is a light machine.
It should be a Cyber Dragon.
What's funny is
the name.
What's funny is when people make this against me and I normal summon a Cyber Dragon, they're like, okay, fine. I'll wait. And then you go contact, make this. And they forget. They forget that this is a light machine. And I'm like, hey, yo,
Yeah.
Or if they put in the extra monster zone, we can make this. If this card eats cards out of the extra monster zone, I feel like one's fine. I don't think you need any more than one. I was playing it at 2. I bumped it down to 1. I feel like it's fine for some other really good options that you're playing here, like Relinquished Anima. This card is just really good as a 1-of in the deck. It does go up by 1,200 attack points for every monster you put into this card. Maximum it's going to go up to is 36, but you're only ever going to use your opponent's monster and a monster that you have on the field because you're going to use it before you put a monster in the extra monster zone. We then play 2 copies of Fortress Dragon. 2 is enough. If you board wipe your opponent twice with this card, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really insane. Basically, it makes it where you can use machine monsters from both players' fields, plus a Cyber Dragon monster to make this card. You don't have to use polymerization. You just basically contact fuse into this card, which is insane. 1 copy of Twin. Twin is just basically an attack twice. That's all it does. It's really good to make with Power Bond because it comes out at 56, so it's big. We play a single copy of Rampage. Rampage is really good as well because it can attack multiple times. It can pop spells or traps. It's just a great OTK piece. 1 copy of Cyber End Dragon. You just got to play it. It's just too cool. It does piercing damage. It can come out at 8,000. This card has ended so many games for me. You don't have to play it, but it's just too cool not to. And usually when I put this on the field, my opponent scoops if they have something in defense solution because they know they're about to take a lot of damage.
Oh yeah.
So this card is hilarious because it's just too nostalgic not to. I just like making this card. We then play a single copy of, for the Link monsters, playing a single copy of Sigurd. Sigurd can boost a monster up by 2,100 attack points, which is pretty good, but it doesn't take any damage from that battle, which is not that big of a deal because you're just looking to make a big monster with this card. We're playing a single copy of Link Rebo because we do play the level 1s because you play your copy of Hertz that you can link away for this card. Then Hertz will get you a search, and this also gives you a battle protection, which is insanely good. Play a single copy of Anima. Anima can gobble up something that it points to, which is really nice. And then a single copy of Alamirage. Alamirage is really good in this deck as a 1-of because this card can basically link away your copy of Core or your copy of Hertz to be able to make this card to give you a destruction protection, which is pretty good. Also, it gets your copy of your Hertz into the graveyard. You can then get this card off the field by searching the Cyber Dragon, because then you can use this card's effect to get itself off the field, and then you can special summon Cyber Dragon, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's it for the extra deck, guys. Let's get into the side deck. So for the side deck, we're going to run it pretty simple. I'm playing some pretty good options. Again, depending on where you guys are and depending on what your locals is or what tournament you're going into, base it around that. But I'm going to show you guys what I'm playing for my locals. So for locals, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Nibiru. This card is just a catch-all card. It deals with a lot of stuff. It's really good. It's really a great card to be able to play because if you're playing against like Super Heavy Samurai, they score on the board. If they don't make the copy of Pharaoh first, you can throw this at them. If you play against Gashira and they make a field and they're trying to zone lock you and they don't put in a gate on board, you can deal with them that way. There's just so many ways to deal with your opponent with this card, and so I really feel like it's a great side deck option. I feel like the Regeki is better in the main because it's more of a catch-all card, but this card is just really good. We then play 3 copies of Lightning Storm. I really don't like back row. Can you tell?
I can tell.
I really, really don't like back row, and I really want to OTK. So a lot of players here at locals, they just throw their monsters in attack position, and then I Lightning Storm, and I go in. And if they don't, and they put it in defense position, and they learn, then I swing with the Cyber Dragon or Cyber End Dragon in defense position.
Yeah.
And then we win. So regardless, we have a strategy. So this works. We then play 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. I was expecting Sprite, so I was going to play this. We didn't, and it's still pretty good, but like I just feel like it's a good option right now, especially against like Super Heavy. You drop this against like Super Heavy or Sprite or something like that, and then they just scoop. Like they usually don't have an out to this. A lot of players are not playing like Prohibition against the Super Heavy Samurai matchup here, and so you just throw this and it stops them in their tracks, which is really nice.
Yeah.
We're going to leave this spicy tech for last. We're then playing 3 copies of D-Barrier. D-Barrier just stops any mechanic, so this card is good. If you think they're going to make you go first, you side this in. It's really funny. You side out like the Regekis and you put this in, which is really funny. We then play 3 copies of A Rivalry of Warlords. This card, if you guys have ever seen the Zombie World combo, if you guys have ever played Zombie World, it actually combos with these 2 together. So if you put this on the field like this, for example, if you have Clockwork Knight and Rivalry on the field at the same time, what ends up happening is this makes the first monster they put on the field a machine. Then you flip the Rivalry, then they can't summon unless they're playing machines because this says they can only have 1 type of monster on the field. So you put both of these on the field at the exact same time and they can't summon unless they're playing machines. So you play against like anything but like super heavy, I guess, because they're machines. You can play against like Kashtira, and then when they put something on the field, you just throw this because they're psychic. You can play against Sprite, they're thunder. You can put this on the field and summon out Hugin with the runic cards. They can't summon anymore because Hugin is a fairy, so they're only playing thunder from there. There's just really good options to play against with this that it just stops your opponent. So I really like siding these. If you're gonna play a going first build, definitely main this. Definitely put this in the main if you're gonna play a going first build though, because this card is just nuts. So that's pretty much it for the deck.
Alright, so that being said, that's going to be about the end of the video. Of course, be sure to check the description so that way you guys can shoot Dark Realm Duelist a subscribe, whatever. But really, that's going to be about it. See ya.
See you later, guys.